Calaroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Murder Weekly. This episode is titled The Gym Rat.
At FitLife Gym, the air was usually filled with the sounds of energetic workouts and cheerful chatter. Sarah Jennings was a fixture here, known for her marathon treadmill sessions. Her dedication was admirable, yet it unknowingly sowed the seeds of a tragic outcome. As the gym buzzed with its usual activity, a scream sliced through the din, drawing a crowd to a horrific scene. Sarah lay beside her treadmill, her body twisted unnaturally, a deep gash on her forehead, and blood pooling around her head. The treadmill was still running, its belt stained with blood. Detective Linda Martin arrived, her experienced eyes taking in every detail. She began her investigation with the gym staff. "When was the last time anyone saw Miss Jennings alive?" she inquired. The gym manager, a teenager named Rick, was playing on his phone, barely looking up to engage the detective. "She was fine just half an hour ago, Detective, running on her usual treadmill. I didn't notice anything strange." Linda nodded, her gaze shifting to the other gym goers. "Did anyone see or hear anything unusual?" A young woman timidly raised her hand. "I saw a man arguing with Sarah earlier. He seemed really angry." Linda's attention sharpened. "Can you describe him?" "He was tall, kind of rugged looking. He left in a hurry after their argument," the woman said. Detective Linda Martin scanned the security footage, her eyes fixed on the interactions between Sarah Jennings and a man she learned was Eric Thompson. As she watched, another gym-goer caught her eye. A tall, rugged-looking bro dude named Jam, whose behavior around Sarah seemed inappropriate and unsettling. The footage showed Jam ogling Sarah as she ran on the treadmill. His remarks, though inaudible in the video, were clearly offensive, judging by the discomfort on the faces of those around him. Determined to understand every angle of the case, Linda approached Jam at the gym the next day. He was lifting weights, a smirk on his face as he eyed the women around him. "Jam, I'm Detective Martin. I need to ask you a few questions about Sarah Jennings," Linda said, her tone professional yet firm. Jam set down his weights with a clatter and wiped his brow with a towel. "Sure, Detective, Sarah, huh? She was a fine piece, always running on that treadmill. Great view, if you know what I mean," he said with a lewd wink. Linda suppressed her disdain. "Were you aware that she was murdered?" Jam shrugged, his nonchalance infuriating. "Yeah, heard about that. Shame, really, but hey, life goes on, right?" Linda narrowed her eyes. "Did you ever talk to Sarah? Maybe have an argument?" Jam laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Talk? Nah, we never talked. I mean, I wouldn't have minded getting to know her better," he said, his gaze lingering suggestively on a passing woman. "Did you notice anyone else paying her special attention? Someone who might have had a problem with her?" Linda pressed on, trying to steer the conversation back to the case. Jam scratched his chin, thinking. "Well, there was this one guy, always scribbling in his notebook, shooting daggers at her with his eyes. Dude had some serious anger issues." Linda took note of this confirmation of Eric's behavior. "Thank you, Jam. If you think of anything else, let me know," she said, eager to end the conversation. "Hey, Detective, in case I think of something else, maybe I could get your number?" Jam asked, his tone laced with a hint of sleaziness that went beyond professional courtesy. Linda, well-versed in dealing with such advances, met his gaze with a cool, unyielding expression. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a business card, and handed it to him. "You can contact the station if you remember anything pertinent to the investigation," she said, her voice firm and devoid of any encouragement. "Ask for Sergeant Davis. He'll relay any information to me." As Linda walked away, she could feel Jam's eyes on her backside. Jam's objectification of Sarah was disgusting, yet it was Eric's silent, simmering rage that had culminated in tragedy. The gym, a place of health and vitality, had unwittingly become a stage for the darker aspects of human nature. Back at square one, Linda revisited the gym, her attention drawn to the staff. She learned that Rick, the manager, had a contentious history with Sarah over gym policy violations. But again, his alibi checked out. The detective went back to scrutinizing the security footage from FitLife Gym. The grainy video showed the gym's patrons going about their workouts, but Linda's attention was fixed on two individuals, Sarah Jennings, relentlessly pounding the treadmill, and Eric Thompson, seated nearby, his body language tense. The footage revealed Eric shooting Sarah furtive, almost hostile glances as she continued her run, oblivious to his growing irritation. Linda observed Eric's hands moving furiously, penning something in his notebook, his expressions fluctuating between anger and frustration. This visual evidence struck a chord with Linda. The footage suggested that his resentment might have manifested into something more tangible. Linda approached the manager, Rick. "I need to check Eric Thompson's locker. The security footage from the gym indicates he might have been harboring significant resentment towards the victim." Fortunately, the manager was a teenager who didn't know about words like search warrant. Rick led Linda to a row of lockers, stopping in front of one marked with Eric's name. With a heavy heart, he opened the locker, allowing Linda to peer inside. The contents of the locker were sparse, but each item seemed to echo Eric's bottled-up anger. Among his gym gear, Linda found several more notebooks, each page filled with rants about Sarah and detailed accounts of her gym routines. Buried beneath these notebooks was a crumpled, handwritten letter addressed to Sarah, never sent, expressing his frustrations in raw, emotional terms. In the interrogation room, the air was thick with tension as Detective Linda Martin faced Eric Thompson across the table. Eric, a wiry man with a nervous twitch, looked like a cornered animal, his eyes darting around the room. Linda, with a calm yet firm tone, began the questioning. "Mr. Thompson, we found your notebook. It's filled with stories about murder, and many of them mention a woman resembling Sarah Jennings." Eric's hands clenched into fists, his voice barely a whisper. "Every time I went to the gym, she was there, on the treadmill. I just wanted to run to clear my head, but she was always there." "And you wrote these stories as a way to vent your frustration?" Linda probed, her gaze never leaving his face. Eric nodded, his eyes downcast. "Yes, it was my outlet. I never meant for any of it to become real. I wrote about it, but she just wouldn't listen. She wouldn't give up that treadmill no matter how long I waited." Linda leaned forward, her tone softening slightly. "So what happened at the gym, Eric? Tell me the truth." Eric swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "I confronted her. I asked her to give others a chance on the treadmill. But she laughed, called me pathetic. I lost it. I pushed her. She fell and hit her head on the machine. It was an accident. I never meant to kill her." Linda sighed, closing her notebook.
Murder Weekly is a Calaroga Shark Media production, written and hosted by Aidan I. Flanagan, produced by Mark Francis, executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott. Calaroga Shark Media.